Hello,
We are live.
we're
Hello, hello.
live. Episode 32 of Creative Flux.
32.
Well, for everybody that's listening for the first time, I'm Pearson, this is Bilal, and
Luke.
we talk about generative media, AI, technology. We're just really passionate about the space. We stay up to date as best as we can with all the news, and we just riff about, you know, things that we're interested in, things that we're seeing. And it's pretty fun. It's always a cool conversation. Sometimes we go down different tangents. This week, I mean, there's a lot of cool news. Last week we talked about, oh man, I mean, we spent like last week was pretty fun because we are talking about Dance 2. Hollywood kind of is shitting their pants. They're issuing cease and desist letters, and the genie is out of the bottle. It's wild time.
It is, yeah. And I feel like you're going to see like a lot of some studios who will fight that and lose, and others will accept it. Because I mean, the biggest thing with Dance, I mean, well, actually, we're not sure if they'll open source it. They have open source stuff before, but I think it's a matter of when, not an if, when we get a Dance level open source model. And at that point, you can't really contain that. It's not, you can't sue, like you can't, there's no company to sue at that point. So, it's
Yeah,
just,
yeah. It's like you could fight the technology, or you can embrace it.
yeah.
And a few months ago, I went to one of our favorite companies, FAL, formerly known as Features and Labels. FAL, it's a generative media company. They just released their State of Generative Media report today, which we didn't have enough time to read it beforehand. So maybe by next week we could read it. It shows a really cool timeline. Like I skimmed it really quickly. It showed a timeline about like all the image models, all the video models, and like improvements, and like what were the major things that differentiated each model. And it was pretty sweet. So we'll read it before next week and we'll discuss it. But I went to the Generative Media Conference a few months ago, and Jeffrey Katzenberg, the founder of DreamWorks, was there, and he's got to speak really briefly. I wish he had a longer stint, but he was like, this era that we're living in right now is complete parallel to animation when it first came out in like the 90s,
Oh
like
yeah.
computer aided animation, because animators was a job. I mean, it was you were drawing, and it was like disgust to all these people, like, oh man, like we're losing animation to computers. And then Toy Story came out as the first feature length full animated film, and that was Pixar. And yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's wild.
First computer generated, I guess. Yeah, but
Yeah, first computer generated full length film. Yeah.
kind of crazy. And it's funny because you mentioned Katzenberg, because I bet he's just like really pissed off because he was so early with QB. I mean, that the idea of QB that make these like 2-minute shorts with amazing actors, amazing production. It kind of the reason it fell apart was because they were paying so much money to the actors and stuff, and the whole bet was like, people will pay a lot of money to see Keanu Reeves for 30 seconds, and now with AI you can kind of do that, and you can maybe have that, but with a tenth of their salaries or whatever. So a lot of I think we'll see, and we already are seeing, there's some Chinese apps I know that are like killing it right now, who are with kind of this kind of low quality, what do you call it, like Hallmark, not Hallmark, even like more like just a rom-com type content. People will just watch the episodes, and so I'm sure he's like thinking, oh shit, if only I'd done this a year after AI came out. So
Yeah, totally. It'll be very, very interesting. I'm very excited to see how this shapes up. I'm excited to see like this new era of creativity. The costs are going to zero. So if you're an individual behind your computer, you can genuinely now create things, and it's the most exciting time for storytellers. So yeah, I mean, Dance 2, created by ByteDance. Awesome model. If you haven't seen everything going viral, it was like last week we talked about Tom Cruise fighting Brad Pitt. This week there was like a Catzilla destroying the Golden Gate Bridge. I saw that one. There was all these crazy like Transformers sort of thing. It was sick. Elements, that was a really cool one too. I really liked because I used to love Avatar, like The Last Airbender, and like the sort of elemental like magic where you see like fire and water and air and earth and like those sort of particle generations. And those would take so long in the past, like doing water physics, like fluids. Now you could just kind of like shoot water out of your hand and like watch dust like, go everywhere.
right.
It's
Yeah, the
really
special effects are insane. Like there was one that went viral. I saw it was a couple of dragons like battling each other. That was
mm,
just like I mean, I honestly, I mean, for the first at least 30 seconds, I thought it was Hollywood level. So it's kind of crazy that we're approaching that point so fast. But it still blows my mind. Like I saw a couple of guys where it's like, no one would ever watch this content. Why would I ever watch it? I'm like, dude, what the hell are you like? Can you not see how far we've come from Will Smith eating spaghetti like 2 years ago? What do you think is gonna happen? We're just gonna plateau here magically? It's kind of crazy how people don't really understand the exponential speed we're moving at.
Oh, 100%. I genuinely believe that, like, I think Seedance 2 was, like, the ChatGPT moment. I think that was the title of last
Yeah,
week's
I'm
episode.
still waiting for the API. God damn it. They're celebrating their Chinese New Year, I guess. They decided rather than releasing it there, we're gonna chill for a while, which they probably deserve that break. They're
Right.
like, give us the API. I'm really curious about the pricing because I talked about Kling. Kling is awesome, but it's so expensive. Like it costs like a point two, like or basically 20 cents or 10 to 20 cents depending on the audio or the pro or standard more for per second. So I mean you're spending $1 to $2 on 5-10 second videos. It's great, but it's just like you can't really iterate on that. I was like spending I created a couple of videos which were really good, but it cost me like $20 and I was like, oh, yeah,
How
this
long were the videos?
a minute long. I have this Gentek thing I've tried trying to do where I come up with the scenes and then I have a director who kind of does different shots, and it's really interesting. I feel like I was at an event with Imagine Art, which cool model they have. They were talking about how they moved from this crazy. One of the guys on the panel was talking about how he's moved from this crazy animating storyboard to literally saying it's like a script now. You just go, oh, he says this, and then he does this, and the AI can basically take that and use its own understanding of shots and everything and craft it together. And so I think we're just going to see a lot of these hacks, crazy node workflows and stuff, like hopefully getting less complex. And it's just literally being like a script.
Yeah. No, it's super interesting. I know there's a company here called Flora. Yeah, yeah, Flora, and it's like a node-based comfy UI workflow. And if you listen to this and, like, I still think it's still pretty powerful, like, these node-based workflows because it allows you to see, hey, start with an image, that image stays constant. And you can animate that image. You can take the last frame of that previous video and then extend the video, and you can kind of tweak different nodes in your workflow to generate the thing. But this is also something where one, everyone's doing this. So like 11 Labs came out with their own node-based workflow. Val has their own workflow with the product. Then you become like it's a commodity. Then it's a UX question about like, okay, like can you build the best UX for creation?
Yeah.
And is it generalized or specialized? And that becomes
Yeah.
an interesting question. Or can you just vibe code it yourself? I mean,
Yeah,
like,
no, I agree. It's still early days on what I do think we kind of are getting a hint of what it's going to look like. Because one thing, Kling actually, I think we're at the forefront of this. So what they do is this: they have this concept called elements, and I think it's very powerful. And we've talked about how we solve consistent characters. And what you do is basically you can upload an image or generate an image, and you can give it a name. You can say this is. You can upload your image and you say this is Pearson, and basically that becomes an element. And I think you can do up to 7 elements per video output in Kling. So you can literally take image of a couple of characters. You can take an image of a table if that's an element and that's an object versus a character. And then you can just say Pearson talks to Bilal as Bilal leans on the table. And it will actually do a very good job of, mapping that out because it understands who Bilal is and Pearson is. And I think that's where Kling's Omni model kind of gave us a hint. I think we'll get to where we literally it's kind of stupid. Like right now, I think the big thing is you basically have to refer to characters in every image. What I feel like should happen is you first decide, oh, we have the cast, we have the world, we have the style aesthetic. You knock it down first. And then when you're writing a scene, you don't think about the style or the character. That's already done at that point. That's all that's left is what action does the character take. And I think so it's almost like I think the part of the complexity is that everything is jumbled into one UI versus it's almost like two stages. First, you
mhm,
decide the cast and the character, the style, and then you just decide, okay, this shot, this is going to happen, right? And maybe part of the style is also, is it a slow movie? Is it a fast cut? Jump cut movie is more of a noir type of movie, and that also informs the shots.
right.
I think there's a lot of interesting stuff you can do, like vibe code your own. I mean, I do that all the time. It's really fun to think of different UIs and UXs and how to best use these models. And every model is different.
Absolutely. No, I totally agree. I think what we're talking here is like one of the, not to talk about JellyPod, but one of the foundational insights that we had is that the value isn't necessarily in the output, it's the value is in the consistency of output. So if you can save certain characteristics, styles, hosts, so those can be reused across multiple generations, that's the key. Like that's exactly what you're talking about here in Kling. Like you can save elements and then reuse those elements and have pretty fair assumption that it actually is going to generate the thing that you want it to generate today, tomorrow, and the next day. And so like that's what yesterday, like, for example, yesterday I sent out an email to all of our, subscribers on the product updates list about the new change that we made in billing because, not to plug the company, but we made a change to JellyPod where, like, rather than consuming credits when generating audio on your podcast, you only consume credits when you publish and, like, you've actually, like, have a final result. Because I think the thing that's preventing a lot of, the explosion of creativity is just what you said here. It took you $20 to make a 1-minute video because you had to iterate and refine. And that just like is a tax on creation. And when you're in your head having to think about, oh, is this good enough? Or like, I want to make this change, but then it's going to cost me another dollar. Is it worth it? Maybe the time it takes 5 minutes or whatever. Like it just completely, it's unnatural. Like creation should not be an ROI calculation. It should be like, hey, I have an idea for something better. I should be able to do that thing without concern of the marginal cost. And so that's why we made that change.
And that's where it's funny because Sedan's 1.5, very cheap actually. It's ridiculously cheap. It's 20 to 30 cents, I think, for like this $20 would have been like a dollar for me for both Sedans and LTX2. So the three models I look for, apart from VO and Sora, obviously are the Western labs, here. But the three models are Sedans, LTX2, and Kling. And I think it's the 3 horse battle between them. And and LTX Sedans, 1 cheap. Two, obviously, we've talked about amazing. I hope their price they keep the pricing reasonable because up till 1.5 it was actually pretty good. LTX2 is awesome, and I feel like it doesn't get enough love because it is actually truly open source. And you can actually do LoRa's and stuff on LTX2, and people have done all sorts of interesting stuff on it. They've trained a model, fine tuned it, and concept of training. Like a video model, is just didn't even know. Your friend from Oxen, like he's actually written a couple of great blogs about how to do it. I think that's really Electrix is definitely going to be pushing the boundary on what you can do. And they cost it's like 20 cents for 5 seconds for a full 1080p video with audio. And so the only thing they haven't solved is multi-shot. Obviously, I mean, the quality isn't as good. But funny, when Sedans 2 came out, somebody commented, oh, hopefully open source, will catch up. And the official account replied soon. So hopefully
Yeah.
maybe they're cooking something. LTX3
Yeah.
might actually be as good. That would be crazy.
Like Lightrix is cool. I mean, it's an Israeli startup. They're the creators of Facetune. So like
Really
the
interesting.
like the filters app that's been around forever. So they've been kind of in the space too of like, I don't know where the licenses on the Facetune app are, but maybe by using the app, you just gave them all permission to use that's why they're able to have a great video
And that
model.
app, does it like swap your face or something?
It's like Snapchat filters, but mainly for like photoshopping, like making you look prettier and stuff.
Oh, oh,
You know,
looks maxing, man.
looks maxing. Yes.
There you go. So don't Google that. Your algorithm will get messed up.
Yeah. I'm interested. I mean, like, it's interesting because that's the only Israeli AI lab that I really can think of. Like, I don't know if they have
I
like a
mean,
big
Israel has a lot of cool technology startups and stuff, but they tend to be more like the whiz and stuff like under the hood, very high level. But yeah, I think Lightrix is the only, like the one at least we know in AI media, but
right,
they're killing it.
right. Yeah. No, it's super cool. I wanted to talk a little bit about like some of the Google Labs stuff. I thought it was just interesting because Google Labs, if you don't know, like we were just talking about this a second ago. I mean, it's like this umbrella. I don't know if it's under DeepMind or not anymore, but they just release cool products. Probably each one of these products could be its own standalone startup that's worth a lot of money, and they just kind of have like a team getting to build these cool things. And there's this one l- product called Pomeli, which is like an AI powered marketing tool that allows you to like create scalable on brand content. Um, and it's released some like new feature um this week. It allows you to create like studio quality marketing assets, and they actually look like super good. Like I want to share this screen right here and just show like the little demo video because um it's pretty sick. So this is like their it's a 45-second video. Let's just watch this because and if you're listening to this, sorry, we'll explain what's happening. So like you can create like this like product photo shoot and you put your product image and then like it kind of extracts the element here. Like it's exactly kind of what we're talking about and can make some really cool marketing assets. And I used it in the past, but like it went from this to like all these. It's pretty sick. And it's
That's
free.
awesome. So it basically lets you, it's almost like the same concept, like you describe these elements, which are the artifacts, and then you can kind of, these pieces come together in the image very consistently. And then you can use the same model, maybe the same background, and show different angles of the same product. So it's very
Yeah.
powerful to create a consistent branding and theme around it.
Oh, exactly. And like it's probably powered by Nano Banana, but they probably just like the harness around it is probably really good. It's probably multiple
Yeah.
models. Maybe there's I
But
don't
this
know.
is like, it's so simple, but it's so true because a lot of people, like when they think image generation, they think it's like a one-off process. But for brands, it's not. The whole, and this is what we lean in on JellyPod. Yeah, it's cool. You can create a cat video or a cat, like a funny hat. But if you want to maintain that exact color and style throughout, that's where the power comes from because people associate that branding with you. And so with brands, maybe you're selling a toothpaste, whatever, but you
Right.
want always to show a light blue background. Maybe you want to show the same person, avatar, kind of like the Capital One or the guy, what's that insurance guy who's always like kind of dead, but he, Allstate guy,
Oh yeah.
or Geico, right? I mean, so like a gecko or something. And so it's those things. That's what the power of brand is, like repetition. When you start unconsciously associating a certain color or a certain aesthetic or a certain person with that brand, that's how you get in people's head. And so as you're doing these things, you should be thinking about that. How do I build a workflow where I can consistently generate cool images
Uh-huh.
or something like that. Fall actually does this really well because if you go on their model page, they always show a different type of cool image, abstract image for every
Right.
model, but it's always very similar. Like they believe they just use a Midjourney SRF, which is, I think that's one of the reasons Midjourney, even to this day, is still preferred by people because a lot Midjourney hasn't really released a lot, but they've just do that so well where you can have amazing, beautiful aesthetics and then consistently use that aesthetic, in different formats.
Right. Totally. Can you explain those SRFs real quick for people that may not
Yeah,
know?
SREF is basically an embedding. I mean, it's kind of like, let's say you like a black and white type of a thing. What every Midjourney and really every model, what they do is they produce seeds, like seed phrase, like numbers, which basic because a model has weights, and so when you hit a model with a certain prompt or something, some weights are activated, and what you can do is you can like then kind of basically track that embedding. So the next time you can hit the same weights in the same way, and that will generate the same style. And so Midjourney basically calls this SREF, which is like, let's say you create a cool artsy style, and you're like, I love this style. You can just copy that style, and under the hood, what's doing is just saving that embedding or that number or whatever it is. And every time you use a new prompt, it makes sure to pass that embedding or number in the model, so you get a consistent output.
Right. Got it. So are these like all these are all like Laura's kind of applied to the Midjourney like models?
I don't know if it's LoRa, because LoRa, I mean, you train a LoRa, right? I think it's more just you hit the model with the seed or whatever. So like in the same way.
Oh, interesting.
So it's like, what do you call it? Like with Flux, you can do that too. I think you can like generate, I think if you go to Fall, they have this thing called seed, which always, but that just gives you the same output. But I guess what Midjourney is, it has more flexibility on that seed phrase where you can actually maintain the aesthetic, but do different objects in that. So it's
Yeah,
interesting.
no. Yeah, it is super interesting. I like the my favorite SREF one that I saw was it was like patent, like sort of a blueprint-esque sketches where you can just kind of create this really cool, like hand-drawn patent looking blueprint of like anything. I always thought that'd be really cool for artwork.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I think that's the other part is the community because I mean, it's cool you can do this, but a lot of people they can't think about like what to do. And so having like just presented thousands of amazing styles, it's kind of crazy. I mean, to this day, I haven't seen any model match Mid Journey's aesthetic. There's just something about the quality they have. It's beautiful.
Right.
It's not even like you can say, oh, this is the closest to the real thing because we're way past matching photorealism. It's just more the art aesthetic. It's just so nice. I mean, they just have taste. It's like I can't even think. I like look. I'll see some image on a tour. I'm like, oh wow, I love this watercolor, like cool animation. Like how do you like make just the character pop in a certain color and everything else is kind of beigey. And I'm like, oh, this is sick. Love it.
Totally. No, no, absolutely. No, it's super interesting. I think it's like the creative community here is pretty cool, and it makes sense why Midjourney started in Discord.
Yeah.
As like this platform to be able to share all this stuff, and like everybody can see everyone's generations, and it
Yeah.
kind of
But you can
spark.
see now this, I think you're going to see this thing we saw with images applied to videos, and that'll be cool. Like once you can just generate videos, I mean, maybe there'll be an animation style video where every video you can restyle into a certain art aesthetic, or maybe people's voices change, or the video, even though the whole plot can change from happy to sad or something. It'll be fascinating to see how people use it. I imagine you're going to see a lot of like, you take a clip and be like, reimagine this as Game of Thrones, what if Game of Thrones were Gen Z or whatever, like stuff like that.
Right.
And you already see that people doing one off, but there's probably going to be like tooling around it to make it much easier.
Totally, for sure. It's super interesting because we come at the generative media lens as like the individual creator, and I think that's like the majority of use cases right now. There's an interesting podcast. I know I shared it. Uh, I don't know if you gave it a listen, the entire thing, but it's like what Oxen, Greg, and Mike,
Yeah.
from the Tool Use podcast. But um, for our listeners, it was an interesting podcast. So if you're looking for like a lot of cool guests that come on, Tool Use is an awesome podcast, and they had this guest, Greg, who's the CEO and founder of Oxen AI, and it's like a fine tuning platform. It's kind of like GitHub for
Yeah. Really cool
large.
blog post. I definitely recommend checking their website out. He like actually dives deep into how to train a model and stuff. Like it's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
It's really cool. It's like he's super technical, and I had the pleasure of getting to know him a little bit in LA because he was often the sponsor of the LA AI Tinkerers, and his demos were always sick. Like it was always like he fine tuned some like cool new model or like ran something local. Like it was always just like very technically smart and like cool. It was like not performative at all. It's like he was just like nerding out like on a Saturday getting to do something. This podcast is really cool. He's talking about how the reason why I've gotten to this was that he was talking about how one of their clients, I think it was IKEA, they had a catalog of furniture for someone like IKEA who has, let's say, 1,000 different SKUs. Let's say you have a dresser, and that dresser can come in 10 different colors. And in those 10 different colors, you have 4 different types of knobs. You can have brown knobs, black knobs, white knobs, red knobs, and maybe like the feet are a little bit different. So the combinations of that one specific dresser just explode. Like there's so many. And so to actually produce the dresser with each variation, so the red, let's say a black dresser with a red knob and these brown feet, and then the same thing, but instead of the red knob, a white knob. Like you would actually like physically create the dresser and then the other dresser and every combination and then take a photo of it and then create a catalog so you can actually see like every single combination. It's impossible. It doesn't happen. And he was talking about how they worked with IKEA to be able to fine tune a model on those dressers and having like specific color codes for each one of those elements. And it was really interesting because you're like, okay, why do you need to fine tune models anymore if like the model's getting cheap, getting really good? And something what he said was like, well, yeah, maybe for most people, individuals, but when you're getting into like, hey, I need to generate like 100,000 images, million images, not only is it going to be expensive, you're going to get rate limited. The amount of time that it'll take to generate all those things, because even if you can't parallelize it entirely,
Yeah.
and if you like, it just get rate limited. It just takes so long. So it's like you have to fine tune smaller models if you want to take advantage of the stuff today to bring the cost down and the time
Yeah.
down. Really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, everything breaks at scale. Like every problem at scale is just a very difficult problem. People don't realize it. Like there's this funny meme, oh, why DocuSign has like 20,000 employees, and people make fun of that. But there's this funny, Trung did a really cool post about why they actually need that many people. And when you get down to the scale, and actually the number of signatures because it's just like, oh, you're signing PDFs. But when you actually look at what they do at scale, they have to handle 2 to 3 million signatures a day, which comes to like thousands of per second. Each signature could be vital if it fails. And each signature could happen on a variety of devices, mobile and stuff. And the internet could be out, there could be an outage and stuff. And when they can do, you can get sued. It's just when you walk through it, you're like, okay, I totally understand why they need that kind of infrastructure. It's insane. I'm like signing PDFs is just such a like it's crazy how complicated it can be, right? Same with like this, like everything at scale. You want to have your own workflow. But I do want to mention one thing since we were on editing images. A model came out called Fire Image Edit, and it's supposed to be the open source Nano Banana. I don't know. I have to check it. I think Fall might have had it. I played around with it a couple of times. It was fine. But if that's, I do think we're gonna hopefully, because Nano Banana Pro is like 20 cents an image. So even for a lot of like hobbyists, that's expensive. So hopefully we'll get at least cheap image editing models soon. So definitely check out Fire Edit. It's pretty cool. And on that, also, we talked about CDance too, but people don't actually know. But ByteDance, the company behind CDance, they actually have an image model called Seed Dream. And so Seed Dream 4.5 is actually pretty amazing too. And apparently they're going to release Seed Dream 5 with CDance too, a couple, like a dual release. So I actually think people don't know about Seed Dream because Seed Dream 4.5 is probably, it's up there, I think, with the best models. And so 5 is supposed to be as good. So something to look out for as well on the image
So
front.
what goes through your head when you're deciding to like use a different model? Like you just I just want to try this one and I like it, and then you
Yeah,
just
I think
random
I
or
I think I vibe coded an image drop down like at least 50 times. I should standardize. I literally I create a model and then oh, can you add a drop down with a different parameter? And then I run into a problem because fall some will take num inference steps and some will take and then image underscore size versus aspect ratio. And then you have to do a lot of if this then that. So it's kind of weird that they don't standardize the that format. I guess they can't help it. But yeah, I end up basically hacking on so many models. It's crazy. But you have to try it because it's so you can't even say one model is better than the other because some models are more photorealistic. Like Quen image is better at photorealism than Flux2. Flux2 is better at taking hex colors, and if you need fine-grained control like that, so it's great for that. Overall, is probably better than both, but then maybe and it's not that expensive. But then if you pay up a bit, Nano Banana Pro is amazing, for both text to image and image editing, but you pay 20
Mhm.
cents. So many factors you have to consider. You have to keep.
Yeah. I haven't looked that much into the benchmark scenes here. Like, are there standardized benchmarks on images?
There's I think the closest is like the LM Arena. They have something called the image leaderboard, and which basically lets you pick between images, and that's how they kind of come up with an LO score. I mean,
Mhm.
with images, I think that's actually a good metric. LLMs are kind of weird because people pick answers, but just because you chose an answer doesn't mean that model is better. Because a lot of people like pick based on how sycophantic a model can be and stuff like that. So people have criticized LLM Arena for the rankings for LLMs, but I think images are actually a very good leaderboard because either you like an image or you don't like it. It's very easy for humans to look at two images, be like, I prefer one image or the other. So the image leaderboard, and there's text to image and there's image editing. So I definitely recommend checking those out. Those are good
Yeah.
ones too.
Image editing is easier to like quantify, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, because the edit, you usually have a very precise thing you're going for, right? You're like, oh,
Right.
either you did it or you didn't do it. So
It'd be
I agree.
interesting to think about like how we can benchmark images better because like at the end of the day, I mean, it's all vibes, it feels like. Images, like, you have however many models. I wonder what FAL does, because I know FAL, they don't release every model. It's not like Hugging Face or something. It's like they have to have partnerships, and they wanna just make sure that they're not adding everything, although I think recently they've just added so many models that I don't like, I haven't used probably over, like, 95% of them. But, like, to know, like, what's actually good or not, it's interesting.
It's hard. It's
'Cause,
hard.
like, why would you generate like, if, like, why if you're a company, why would you invest in an image model? You know, like, you have ByteDance, you have Google, you have OpenAI, like, why do it if there's not actually, "Hey, like, we can prove that we're better at this." do it a benchmark. And that's like why like everybody's like likes the LLMs because like hey, we're better at like ArcAGI or like you know, the software engineering benchmarks. So it's
Yeah, I mean, benchmarks are tricky. I feel like it's biased pretty much everywhere now because it's so hard to really understand how good a model is. Like even today, Gemini 3.1 Pro comes out. They doubled the score on ArcAGI too and all that. And my first instinct with a lot of people is like, did they benchmark max it? Did they basically RL it to do? Because that's what you do even consciously or subconsciously, you tell your researchers, I want a better model. And the only metric they have is those benchmarks. And so even if they're trying to be objective, I'm not saying this is a dark pattern or they're being nefarious about it. It's just
right.
human nature that they will RL train the model to be better at those benchmarks. But that just because you're better at that benchmark does not necessarily mean you're better at everything. And so it's so weird, right? You see Opus 4.6 comes out, and the next day, I swear they nerfed it. They did something to it. And people laugh, but then sometimes Anthropic comes out and they say, oh, actually, sorry, by default, we switched to Sonnet 4.5 under the So you were actually getting a degraded model. So sometimes you're like, most of the time it's in your head, but sometimes it's actually not. They actually did do something. It messes with you because they did that to me. I was like, what is going on? I'm making, models making mistake. And it turned out they made the default Sonnet 4.5. I was like, you know, I wasted so much time trying to figure this out because
Right.
you
Oh, totally. Yeah. I just had to look this up because it's like, oh, there's a quote about this. It's Goodhart's law. It's when a measure becomes a target, it ceases to be a
right.
good measure.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah. So, but I do think one of my contrarian beliefs is people think taste is good. The humans will always have taste, and that's like the last frontier. I think taste is verifiable, and because it is verifiable, it can be actually maxed out. And the question is how to make it verifiable because coding and math are that's why the models are the best at those because you can do 2 + 2 = 4. You can look at code. You can see what's good code or bad code. That's why they do better at those frontiers. I think it's just a matter of time for us to figure out a good proxy for what is good human taste. We kind of have an idea with good essays, bad essays, good arguments on posts and stuff, but I think this is just going to get better and we will actually, it'll be a moment when we're like, read something that makes us cry and it's like by AI and AI or whatever.
no, totally. Yeah. And across different dimensions too. I mean, text is one thing where I think we'll get there quicker. The other thing is like taste isn't necessarily right or wrong. The whole creative aspect, like when it's cheap to create anything, it's no longer a decision about like, can I create the thing? It's like, what should I create? And it's like and that comes there's so many variables. It comes with, like, the societal questions, like, how is society feeling today? How do individuals how will this thing be interpreted by the audience? And I think that's a hard question because, you know, when you're designing a building or you're painting something, like, it's like beauty's in the eye of the beholder, and so it's more of like, this thing it's not, like, in a vacuum, like, the thing that you create doesn't get observed in a vacuum, it's observed with the context of the environment it's placed it, and so taste can be something could be look ugly to somebody, but look beautiful to somebody else just because of who they are, the environment, like,
Yeah.
modern art
No,
is a great
I
example.
100% agree. But I do think one thing, I think we overestimate how broad the average person's interests are. And if you have to be really like,
Totally.
like if you want to be like really brutally honest about it, most people like, they kind of like AI slop. I mean, they won't admit, I mean, but even like human, like they watch Love Island. They watch like, the trash TV and stuff. So, I mean, TikTok kind of proves, I mean, it's not like the average TikTok is like a work of art. So I feel like, yeah, there's always the Kurt Vonnegut's and the
Right.
Picassos. Yes. But for most people, I feel like they just like generic drivel. And that's usually fine. You just want to get the distribution, get,
Yeah.
get the new thing. I actually tried this out. Because I mean, I don't pretend to be some sort of a connoisseur or anything. I mean, I do kind of for in certain domains, but I took my Spotify, like I have this list called liked songs. I listen to them when I work out and stuff. I basically copied that to Claude and I was like, give me a profile. What kind of songs do I like? And create like a skill on it and then give me Suno prompts that I can use to generate songs that I would like.
Mm.
And it half worked, half didn't. Like got songs that I could see myself, okay, kind of working out to, but they weren't as good. But it was like, it's getting there. And I feel like, yeah, I should be able to map, what I like, for the most
Totally.
part.
I mean, yeah, like I am so bullish on Spotify for this reason because I also believe that a lot of music is slop. And I think the easiest like proof of proof of this is like in house music because
Yeah.
vocals are I know we talked about this a while ago, but most producers they subscribe to this product called Splice, and Splice is essentially this library of samples vocal samples, a lot of time instrumental samples, all these things. But vocal samples are the the best because getting vocals is pretty hard because if you're not a singer and you're a producer, like you have to go to a studio, you got to get clean vocals, you got to do all this stuff. But like instruments, you can use a DAW to create. So Splice, you get these vocal samples, and like I hear the same sample on so many songs,
Oh, that's
and
funny that you can like find that. Yeah. But yeah, it works. It probably would work on me. I'd be like, oh yeah, walk on by. Yeah, I don't know what that at all.
sometimes they elongate it or sometimes they pitch it up, they down, they make it sound like a
Yeah,
girl's
yeah,
voice or a boy's voice. And the song is good, especially when I'm at the gym and all I care about is BPM, bass, hype music. If somebody could tell me my entire playlist was AI generated, and I was just like, I kind of believe it, there's nothing like that amazing about this
yeah,
thing that I'm
yeah.
listening to right now.
No, actually, it's funny. I saw this post on the Suno subreddit. Some guy said, I've been listening to Suno for the past few months, and now I can't unlisten to human music because I realize how much of it is just generic garbage. Because I realized I thought it was great. Now that I've listened to Suno, I'm like, oh my God, most music doesn't even meet the Suno V5 bar. It's kind of crazy.
Oh, yeah. My brother, yeah,
But at the
totally.
same time, on the other end, I want to be clear. I mean, the people who truly care about like the Stanley Kubricks of the world, I mean, we admire those people for a reason, or the, what's the director, um, Christopher Nolan,
Oh,
right? I
yeah, yeah,
mean,
yeah.
he'll just spend insane amounts of editing and time and precise shots. Most of us won't get what he was trying to do in that scene or in the movie or not understand Tenet, but, we admire it. It's like art. I'm like, all right, we
Yeah.
need people like that to push the envelope as well.
I watched Tenet in a drive-in movie theater with very poor audio, like it was like a car audio. I had no idea what was going on because I
Yeah.
can't even hear it either.
But yeah, it took me, I was like, I watched it and then immediately I went on YouTube. I'm like, somebody break down Tenet or like, what the hell is going, pincer movement, what's going on here? But it's cool.
100%. Well, cool. Talked about a bunch of stuff.
I
Was
know.
there anything else on this that we should touch on this week?
But yeah, I really quickly do want to mention because I think it's cool. And we've talked about agent to agent before, but this guy like came up with this. I felt so jealous because he kind of came up with the perfect buzzword. But he basically built this software where you can like create an agent and it can go out and do autonomous things. And he called it Web 4. And I was like, that's a great keyword. People are going to grab onto that. That's going to be the next term, because Web. And basically, the idea was we've talked about how we saw this with Moltbook, where people, would use their OpenClaw software where they would let their agents go and post on a Reddit type forum and interact with each other. And the idea was also they're talking to each other. There might be some emergent, behavior. And I think there's that's still yet to play on what happens there. I mean, a lot of it is slop, but I do think it's an interesting experiment. But what he did was and I love the way he kind of set it up. And this is going to be slop, just to be clear, it's going to be probably a lot of slop here, but this is just the first iteration of this. But the idea is you give an agent a soul or a Genesis prompt, and you give it like, basically, it has to earn the only reward function it has is like you give it like, let's say the EC2 instance or whatever it's on. They use their own software. This is the play, which is also brilliant. You have to use their own infrastructure, which is probably your AWS wrapper or whatever. But you can you can say, hey, it costs me $20 a month to keep your EC2 instance alive. And so for you to live, you need to make at least $20. And that's rent. And so that's the reward function. So you give it a prompt and it can do register domains. It can, I think, go on social media and stuff. And there's some limited tools it has exposure to. But basically the idea is it needs to first stay alive. And then if it makes more money, it can replicate. It can spin another agent. So it's kind of like Conway's Game of Life, where if you have two neighbors, you can go on. If you have three, you die for overpopulation. If you have one, you die because you don't have enough. So it's a very interesting rule-based system, and it's called Conway's Cloud because of that. And I just found it so fascinating because people have been spinning up these $5 agents and just saying, "Okay, go out, make money for me," And so I like the pure idea that you can just have an agent, and by definition, if it makes more than $5, which its cost, is basically a net positive to the economy. And so you compound that. That's a very interesting thing, right? It's just like a money printing machine in that way. But also like what's going on through the agent side is like, oh my God, I need to like, okay, stay alive. It's I made a short film based on that. Like, you wake up in a room kind of like Severance style, and somebody says you need to make $20, otherwise you die, and you just have a computer. You're like, shit.
And I want to read this essay or whatever. Do you know? So, like, obviously, in an organization where you have multiple entities, there are going to be ones that individually don't make money. For example, I mean, like, let's say the janitor at a organization that cleans the bathrooms, he has an important role because it makes sure that the other people who come and work can do their best work, and they feel like, but he doesn't actually make a net positive. So in this case, if there were like multiple agents, and let's say agent one costs $20 to run, agent two also costs $20 to run, is it like, do they coordinate so that together they have to make $40, or is like each one?
That's an interesting question. I don't know the answer. I guess you can make it more emergent. Maybe they make their own economy. They're like, but trade. You're like, okay, you make silicon chips, and I'll do you the
Right.
services economy. That'll be, I mean, but I do think, I mean, it's a crazy if you imagine billions of trillions of agents just like doing that to each other. They're just like, it's kind of like that episode of Rick and Morty, if you ever watch, where he has a battery and the battery is powered by a simulation inside the battery. It's just a bunch of people working for each other, and
Right.
they work. But I just love this concept, and I think it's so fascinating. And you can check it out. It's Web4 post. The one thing, I mean, the play here is that you have to use Conway's infrastructure, so which they make it easier, right? You pay $5, you get the whole Docker container. It's basically a managed EC2 instance, right? You get a bunch of tools and stuff. But I definitely recommend, if you guys are watching this and you want to do this by yourself. There's this a really cool technology company called Fly.io. I've been a fan for them for the longest time. They came up with Fly machines. It's basically a much easier, nicer way of interacting with the infrastructure versus AWS. You can like have a nice CLI command. You can spin up machines. You can spin them down. And they came up with this product called Fly.io Sprites. And I really, there's a blog post about it, which was very interesting. And they're taking a very different approach than a lot of these sandbox companies. So you've probably seen Vercel Sandbox, there's other, and the idea of a sandbox is you have an agent, you spin it up, it spins up a Linux, Ubuntu, Docker container, you do the thing, and it spins it down. Fly.io Sprites, the whole concept is, why are we making this stateless? I mean, a lot of times you want stateless sandboxes, but a lot of times you want persistent memory. And so, which is why if you're interested, I think this is the perfect product to build it on rather than use Convo. You can use Fly.io Sprites. And what it does is you can create a sandbox. You can give your agent, it can do a thing, and then it can spin down. So it doesn't cost you money to continuously run. But what it does is it creates a snapshot. And so then you can start it up again the next day. And I think that's a very interesting concept. So I think you can build a lot of cool stuff. Maybe you can build Jellypod agents on that too. Like you can create a persistent state and not pay, for the whole month. So yeah, definitely look
That's
into it.
super interesting. There's another platform that I want to take a look at. I haven't done anything on, is like Trigger.dev too,
Trigger or whatever. Yeah.
where because they have also AI SDK like full support, where you could just sort of just write a little like AI SDK agent, which I think is like going to be a very, very powerful thing. Whatever SDK you want to use, it's like you can use the Cloud Code SDK, you can use lame graph or whatever, uh,
Right. Yeah.
but just like you just take this little like program. It's like tightly control. Hey, this is my Pearson's agent. You give it a bunch of tools, and you just throw that off into the cloud. Just give it. You define its tools. You give it an objective. Like, hey, you are a marketing expert. You have to make $20. Just
Yeah.
go spin up, spin down. Like,
I mean, it's fascinating. I think the biggest my question is like, how do you actually? Because like an agent can't like create a TikTok account. I mean, for you to need to create a TikTok account, you would need to bypass their bot protection, but you'd also need a Google account, let's say, but they have their own bot protection. So, and then you need an address if you want to get monetized. So, are you going to use the humans like SSI? I mean, I don't think that's probably what you want. So, like, we haven't really figured out the rails here of
totally.
how an agent can operate, but somebody
Yeah.
will figure it out and they'll make a lot of money doing it. So, It's
It's
something
gonna be so
to
interesting.
look into.
Oh, yeah, it's so cool. I need a bunch of agents to help me to help us do this stuff.
I know. Super meta.
We're meta. Okay, cool. On that note, Web4, state generative media, a lot of stuff we talked about.
Yeah,
As always,
as always.
check out the new models. Let us know what your favorite ones are, and we'll chat next week.
Yeah. All right. Take care, guys.
Cool. See ya.
Bye.